So good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the Women in Tech, and as I say, may the force be with us. I'm Genevieve, and I have a distinguished panel with me that I would love to have them introduce themselves to you. We are all in certain ways involved in technologies, some of us very deeply in terms of coding, and some of us in telling people how to do it. Why don't we start with Stephanie, please?
Yeah. I'm Stephanie Peat. I'm the Director of Digital and Telecoms Policy for the Government of Jersey, and I'm not a technical person. I have a background that comes from policy and from strategy and from filmmaking, but for the last 10, 15 years of my career, I've been working very closely with people who are technical, so I need to know how to speak to them, I need to know how to encourage them. And for Jersey, it's incredibly important that we do encourage women in tech. We are in the government about to publish the final version of our digital policy framework that we consulted on over the summer. And this is going to set some quite ambitious targets for where we want Jersey to be in the next 10 years or so in terms of growing the digital economy. And we can't do that if we don't get everybody involved. And at the moment, Jersey's workforce, 48% of the people who work in Jersey are female. But if you look at the tech area, if you look at digital, it goes down to 15%. So if we don't engage, the women as girls and right the way up to the very top of the organisations, then we're not going to succeed in what we want to do. So from a purely selfish perspective, as a jurisdiction, we need to make sure that we're encouraging women in tech from the very beginning. And not just about getting people into coding, it's about getting people into every aspect of the business. If you look at the breakdown of where women are, there are few coders, there's no one at the director level really, there's a couple around this panel, there aren't many engineers, and there are not many on boards. And so there are a couple of things that the government is starting to look at. How can we encourage more women at the very top onto boards? How can we encourage women from the very beginning, at primary school and secondary school? But it'd be really helpful today to hear from people actually working in the industry and from you guys about what more we might be able to do.
Thank you. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma Gamble. I did a computer science degree at university and then started working as a web developer straight afterwards, working for one of the first social media startups called Smart Groups. This then became Yahoo Groups when it got bought out, and carried on working as a web developer for a few years until I had my third child and we moved to Jersey. And unfortunately, this is about 10 years ago, the regulations at the time meant I was unable to carry on in that particular role, and had to take a sideways step and work more in finance, unfortunately, doing quite a bit more with numbers and looking at data and analytics. So I've got a sort of web development background, but also quite familiar with working in finance as well.
Ying Wang.
Hi everyone, my name is Ying Wang, and I'm a techie as well. And I start from joining the company back in 1998 as the single female web developer, and till today I work for a company with 30% of senior technical female technical teams, and I'm one of them. And so it's been nearly 2 decades in this industry. I have seen great progress. My personal feeling is that things is not nearly as perfect, but has improved so much that it's very encouraging at this point, and everyone needs to get involved. That's it. Thank you.
So if you guys haven't seen, we have rolling through very inspirational women in technology. I have to admit, I wasn't aware of Ada Lovelace, but I was aware of American women more than anything else. And it's very important for us to really look at the progress. So it's great about Ada, but there are also today a lot of very important and very visionary women in technology. And it's really about how do we create more of those. And what I wanted to dig a bit more in with Wang would be the statistics. You've been looking at the statistics around the island and also within your company, and how your company approaches that would be great.
Actually, the company, before I moved to this island this year, I'm new to the island. Before I moved in this year, I worked as a technical lead at ThoughtWorks. Should anyone works in the industry, you may have heard the names. It's a consultant company. If you Google agile development, ThoughtWorks is the first one popped up. That's actually a lot, oftentimes a lot of clients approach us. And so ThoughtWorks this year at Grace Hopper Conference has just beat Google and Intel, become the #1 female supportive companies. And so ThoughtWorks has multiple programs that made a serious commitment about supporting female employees, particularly in the engineering team. So ThoughtWorks has nearly 60% female employees at the entry level, and it has, like I said, 30% at the senior level. And it also has, executive level has 14.1%. Which is significantly high if you look at the stats of Google, Facebook, Apple, all the big companies. And so ThoughtWorks has, for example, a program called TW, so ThoughtWorks University. It is a program that trains newly hired consultants, and from all levels, from consultancy skills, from technical skills, from everything, company culture. And I was involved in TW for 2 years and designed the curriculums and training people and all that. So there's multiple structures in TW program just to support female candidates. And so that's what we have here.
Yes,
So
thanks. And Emma, you're helping drive some changes in terms of bringing together women in technology on the island. So tell us about that one.
Yeah, so my experience over the last few years has been very much being the only female developer in the company, which brings its own sets of challenges, and it's something which I've, again and again, I hear people saying, oh, it's not for me, I'm not interested in that, which is fine. But then there are people who say, I just don't get it, I just don't understand it. And I think, actually, you're a bright person, I'm sure you could do. And generally, with a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of prompting, I've seen women start to create things and go, oh, wow, it works, I've made it, and that punch in the air moment, which is just fantastic. As a result of that, I've sort of been doing some coding courses. A couple of years back, I ran 2 coding for women courses just in Jersey, which were free to attend, and we had a whole section of people from various different backgrounds. The majority were actually teachers, because the computing curriculum was changing in terms of the computing. All school children were now required to learn 2 programming languages, and there were a whole swathe of teachers who had never coded anything before and were really quite anxious about this. So I got to meet some fantastic female teachers who were very keen to learn, and I think they really enjoyed learning just the basics. The problem we had at the end of it was very much, where do we go from here? What do we do next? And so a couple of years ago, there wasn't really a lot around for them to then progress with. You probably had an option if you wanted to carry on with this as your career. You could pay very expensive money, go and do a course somewhere in the UK, or hopefully you could try and get yourself a job as an entry-level position in the industry. But again, a couple of years ago, there weren't so many. There's quite a lot more around now. So what we've been looking to do, myself and Gwyn, is set up some sort of movement where we can encourage more women in Jersey to get involved in technology through education, through skills, through raising awareness of from the girls at JCG and Bolio and all the other schools of why ICT would be a good career option, and talk about some famous women and get some talks, some women over to come and do some talks. So we've got a few plans, a few things we'd like to kick off, and we've got our first meeting next Tuesday at 5:30 in the Hub, if anybody wants to come along, where we're going to be talking about how we can take this further and what we can do.
So I'd like to bring back with Stephanie the policy, because I'm not sure how many of you are really aware about what Jersey is doing around digital. And I think it's not about just the inclusiveness that's necessary, but I think it would be very interesting, even at the grassroots level, to understand for us what's going on there. And it'd be great if you kind of tell us more about it.
I can tell you more. I mean, Jersey's government and the Council of Ministers are fully committed to developing a digital economy and to growing what is already there. And we're not starting from scratch. There have been some very successful initiatives over the last few years, not least setting up Digital Jersey, which is one of our partner bodies in doing this. But what we will be publishing in the next few weeks is the digital policy framework that will set out very clearly where we want to be in 10 years and how we're going to get there. It sets out some very clear objectives, And underlying each of these objectives, there are going to be a number of strategies that will be coming forward, a lot of which are already happening. Because a lot of this work is happening, but don't necessarily talk about it that much. So, we're talking about how we need to be a secure island, and there'll be a cyber security strategy coming out in the next few weeks, which I'm talking about this afternoon if anyone's really interested in cyber security. I would say there's going to be a huge shortage of people who are specialists in that area coming up, and so jobs for everybody, including women there in the next few years. We're talking about data protection and what the island needs to be doing in that area. And Vicky Mill and others will be talking about that on the panel at 1 o'clock, I think. So all of these things are about how we prepare the island so it's able to seize the opportunities of digital. And a huge sector of that is about skilling up. And that's skilling up, making sure we have the right education policy, making sure the opportunities are there for everyone at every age to get the skills, the STEM subjects, not just coding, which is fantastic, but also engineering and science, the ability to go and do some of these exciting tech careers, the careers of the future. It's also about upskilling our current workforce so that they meet the needs of industry on the island. And when we're talking about digital, it's not just a small sector. Most businesses, I would say almost all businesses, are to some extent a digital business now. And they need those skills going forward. And we need to make sure that we're providing them. And if we're ignoring 50%, 51% of the population, then we are going to fail. And so underneath all of these, we have all these areas. And I think it would be just so exciting to see more women and more people, more diversity in general getting involved. I go to Digital Jersey a lot. I'm often one of 2 or 3 women in the room, sometimes just one. And we need to think broader though, because it's not just about tech. I mean, if you look at Jersey in general, if you look at the government, we have 1 female chief executive. Most of our senior managers are men, and that's reflected across the island in most areas. But then look at our legal system. So many top advocates. Look at finance. We need to be reflecting that back across all the different sectors. And I'm really keen to see how we can do that in a number of areas and what we in government can do to support it. I'm not saying we can fix all the problems. We can't. We don't have any clear policies at the moment which directly focus on it. But are there mentoring schemes? Are there sort of getting women on board schemes? Is there just getting small role models out there? So if there are ideas that are coming out of the group that Emma's working on, I hope to be involved with myself, or from this audience here, then we want to hear them.
So which actually brings me, I'd like to open the floor if anybody has any questions or... Yes, Vicky.
I became interested in tech very late in the day, and as a young person, I didn't know any women who did anything to do with technology, and I was quite phobic about it. Because I didn't like maths, I wouldn't be any good at technology. So I steered well away from it, and I had no female role models who were interested in tech or worked in that space. And I now find that when I speak to senior women about technology, they tend to self-exclude and come from the assumption that it's not something for them. How would you see more senior women getting involved in technology?
Actually, I think you have a very good point. Lack of role models is, regardless which age group, is the #1 challenging that women in tech are generally facing. And when you say senior women, I want to clarify that. Is that senior is for biological age or...
For example, on a women's networking forum, which has a lot of accountants, lawyers, people in retail, people in different areas of business, if I've talked to them about technology and the impact on us or the importance of us, there is, I've met with a pretty blank wall. So hardly anybody within that group was within the tech sphere in the first place. And when you raise it as something which we should be engaging with, as women and as influencers of our daughters or nieces or goddaughters, we should be engaging with, it's not, people don't identify with it. And that's women who are directors or senior managers, for example.
Okay. Yes. My personal experience, I have co-workers actually. If we're talking about 2 things here. First is senior women trying to get involved in person or trying to talk about or be aware of the whole trend. So the awareness part is the easy part to tackle. And because in general, if you're interested in this, if you're trying to influence people around you about it, you can start digging and the information is out there. And as for if you try to make a career change at certain age, this is, first of all, this is a serious decision for everybody, regardless gender. And this is, but it's possible. So I have coworkers that I've worked with. She is actually a successful doctor. She's at the age of 35. She decided to change her career. She's into coding. She just naturally have that curiosity and have that interest, and she made a serious choice. And she's one of the senior technical team right now. So it is possible. It's rare because career change at a certain age, it is rare in general, men or women, but it's completely doable.
So one thing I'd like to probably talk about, because this is my experience I'm finding, I'm looking to run a tech company. There are not many women running tech company. And also you hear these noise around the industry that women with technology company get less investment. And, unfortunately, that's a reality in Silicon Valley, but I think that's something that I don't see as something to keep me back. But I think that one of the things I'd say we need to be able to do as women is to question the technology. So if you're in a position of power, you do need to be able to understand enough about it, and also be able to understand the other business side, because I know we're talking about technology, but I think the same problem exists in the high echelon of business, and that we probably, it's numbers. I really don't like numbers, so I'm not going to learn about them. But at the end of the day, being able to manipulate those numbers and understand what they're saying to you is key. So I'm all for coding, but I think it's also very important to be able to code with those numbers and those relationships that you need to build to have a successful company. And I think that my point of view is really, how do we get to that level, which is, so in technology you can have, because once you get to a certain level, you're not going to be coding anymore, but you're going to be looking at the code and making sure it's right.
Can I broaden that out slightly?
Yes.
Because I think it's really important to think not just about getting women into the very traditional tech careers and encouraging them, that. It's about making sure that people across sectors realise that they can't ignore technology.
Yes.
And that technology is going to transform the way they do their business. And those that recognise that are going to be at an advantage. And if you're blind or scared about technology, or think that's not for me, I'll just stick with doing things the old way, then you may well become obsolete. And I think that, so for the women that run the law firms here and the accountancies, they don't necessarily need to know how to code. That would be great. And I don't know how to code, and I think I need to come to one of your courses. But they do need to understand the impact that technology can have, and how they need to, sort of grab hold of this opportunity. And they need to, and that for me is almost I think there's two separate questions here, aren't there, about how we get women, how we help women in the digital sector, and then how we get women to embrace digital across the board.
Yeah, there's very much a perception, I think. I agree that coding, why do I need to know about that? What relevance is it going to have for me? And then there's also very much the, I'm frightened of this, I'm scared of this, or I don't want to know about this because there's this whole image of people who work in technology that maybe isn't quite so favourable towards women. And I'm not like that, I'm not sort of a woman that I think I am. So trying to overcome those negative connotations and to emphasise the positives of what actually how advantageous it can be to women to be able to go out and have a career which is fairly flexible with the time, because let's face it, women generally are the ones that are still at home having to look after children. You can sort of build your career with far more flexible hours. There's the whole sense of you're not just sitting there at a computer all day, although obviously there is quite a large part of that, but if you are writing code, there's a real sense of achievement of when you actually build something and it works and you can show it to people. You can be creative. It's not just sitting there writing the code. But it's not just writing code. There's lots of other careers as well, which I think we'd like to encourage women to sort of get involved with. Anything from project management, business analysis, and then there's the design side. There's plenty of digital designers out there. Digital design roles are coming up as well. So there's a whole range of careers, which maybe it's just about educating and bringing more awareness of these roles to women.
Somebody had a question? You had a question?
Thank you.
done for yourself or that someone has done for you that's really helped you move forward?
Well, I do have one. I'm one of those lucky ones at the beginning of early years of my career. I encountered Marissa Mayer's one of her talks, and she's seriously inspired by her choice. She said she's always doing something makes her a little uncomfortable. That's why I learned from that. I always try to do something that I'm not ready for. And through mistakes, that's how I learn. But it's painful because you're embarrassing yourself and you're all nervous and all that. But afterwards, the sense of confidence is totally worth it. That's me.
My view is that I can't say that my role models have been women, but they've been men who encouraged me and allowed me to sort of step out of what would have been the normal way of working. So it's not, so your mentors need not be always looking like you, but it's people who encourage you. But probably my biggest mentor is my mother, because she says, honey, if you don't get it, it's because you didn't want it enough. And that's the thing, it's like to have self-value and understand your self-worth is your biggest asset. And then after that, everybody else is a detractor, and they don't have to be getting you off track.
Completely agree.
Any other questions? You're welcome.
Just following what you were saying before, I'm Gerald Kincaid. I've been in IT and digital for a very long time, and I can't code. and one of the things, you know, that we keep talking about, and you've mentioned yourselves, is that, you know, I just feel like there's an awful lot of emphasis on women coding, and, you know, as you say, we need to be raising up profiles of other people who are doing more than coding, because I think that's what people see. They see coders and they see people vlogging on YouTube, and they don't see the bit in between. And so that, you know, that's where they see digital. But, you know, what can we do? What can we do to raise our profiles of the sort of like the work and the jobs that we do that involve other things?
So one of the things we wanted to actually get out of this is not for us to tell you guys, but really to come up with ideas from you guys as to what, you know, one of the great things about Jersey is you can try something, and if it fails, you just try something new. So you can adapt. My favorite word these days has been pivot. You can pivot, and you can get it onto the right track. So we really have the ability to, you know, when we think about the finance world, or people talk about Jersey having been in the forefront of different things, we could actually get Jersey in terms of digital to be in the forefront of women in digital. How are we empowering our girls, and then also creating the mechanism for them to remain in this little paradise and not have to go very far flung away. I mean, we've been lucky in that we've settled here. And now, you know, I ain't going back to the US after what happened last week. But it's about how would you guys like, you know, what would you guys like to try? Because I heard role models is one thing. Conferences, we have the ability with Digital Jersey to bring in people who are very inspirational. Like for me, one of the people I really want to get here is the head of Cisco. She's actually a woman cryptographer. She is the CTO of Cisco UK and Ireland. And those are the kind of people we want to bring in, but it's not enough to just bring in somebody. We need to have actionable. So would love to open the floor to what people might have as ideas.
Yeah, so just to build on the points raised before about girls not knowing where they can go and sort of being channeled either into coding or into math-related finance areas. I myself am facing a choice in my career at the moment, and I just don't know who to turn to. So more discussion about the available options would be one thing.
Okay.
To identify the solutions, first we need to identify the obstacles. If you have the problem or you have the challenge,
Yes.
and then you may find options too. So what are the challenges we're facing currently? At different level, different age?
I think options I heard was one of them.
I think the question about who to go to talk about, you know, advice if you want to was what I took from that, you have to make a decision about, you're at JT, aren't you? You're doing a number of things, and do you want to go into the technical sphere or not, and who can you ask for advice? And so, that's one of
Supporting systems.
Yeah.
I mean, indeed, it doesn't, as you mentioned, it doesn't have to be a woman who supports you,
No.
it's someone who is supportive of women.
I think Digital Jersey have a lot of support networks and various different places you can get information from and so on. Are you involved with them at all? Yeah, so that would be a good place to start as well if you're interested in, looking at what options are available to you and getting more information on it. That would be a good place to start. Digital Jersey. What the options are. So at the moment, probably one of the best places to start would be to have a look at what kind of jobs are out there, what the different routes that are available in Jersey at the moment, and maybe have a look at what the skills you might need in order to do that.
Digital Jersey I just saw it nice and shiny, and a couple of guys at Digital Jersey here produced a new brochure about digital jobs, which has got a whole range of people, not just coders. But I think one of the things the UK government has done with Tech UK is put in place a kind of career guidance pack. So maybe that's something we should be looking at, if we need to do something like that, which has some basic advice and
I'm part of
inspiration.
Tech UK, actually.
So there we go, we can
So-
leverage our existing...
So one of the things also I think I try to do quite a bit is get involved in different things. With Tech UK, I am actually the vice chair for the distributed ledger technology. And that is going to be about creating the lexicon. So the first thing we're going to be looking to do is create the lexicon around the blockchain. What does it mean? What are the different terms that are being... And then look to influence government, legal, because one of the things that's in the digital world that's happening very much is data is changing. How data is accessed, in also the value of data is going to change. So maybe looking to do that, and I don't know, Stephanie, if there is possibilities of like working with the companies in Jersey to look at having internships that people...
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about internships. We're talking about apprenticeships, because the traditional route is not the only way. We're talking about what courses Highlands can offer, what partnerships Highlands can have with other universities. But absolutely, and I think that's something that probably Digital Jersey would be very keen to look at as well, whether there are intern opportunities with businesses in Jersey.
Yes.
Sorry, just what you were saying there, and moving on from the other lady, Digital Jersey, it's all great, but if you're not already in the IT area, you can't get a membership. I don't know what's available. What you're saying about apprenticeships, I mean, I'm 42, and I'm wanting to get in there, but it's trying to find.
I didn't... Can you...
Actually, well, very soon we're doing our first digital careers event. I think it's on the 11th of November, but just double check on our stand, that's the right date. That's the first one that we're going to run, and it's we're going to have a handful of firms in there talking about options on island and career paths. No, it's 22nd, I think. No, it's this month, sorry. 22nd, I knew it was 2 numbers. So we're running that in the Digital Jersey Hub in Grenville Street. So I'm going to go to our stand, there's a pamphlet there.
And isn't it also the December 1st? I know we said coding is not the answer, but I don't work, I tried to forget, I think. I realized I used to code when I worked for the bank, and I would go to a client and the script to call wasn't working or the report wasn't working. I had to code this and realize I built database. I try and forget those things. But I think that what I believe it gives you as a skill, so it's not about becoming a coder, but you can look at something and say, this doesn't make sense, which puts, and I think that one of the things maybe for me is I think being in power is what's key for us for women. So it's about creating our own power, creating our own commercialization of our skills. Because at the end of the day, it's really about how we make our lives better. And so being able to have access to those things. So yeah, it might not be exactly the right path, but by being able to sample different things, then you can become an authority in it.
Can I say something about your question about, being 42, which is fantastic age, and how do you move on? And I think we need to look in government at how we connect a lot of the various things that we're doing across the world. We have back to work schemes, we have our education policy. How do we embed sort of digital into those? How do we make sure that we're focusing on that? And that's a challenge for us, but it's a challenge that we don't address until we hear that it's a problem. So, you know, I will take that away.
I am at Eagle House, and they put me on the Committee A Plus earlier this year. I was the only girl in the group with a bunch of teenage boys, pretty much. And I just missed out on the second exam, and then got pushed into a job that was nothing to do with IT. I needed a job, and now it seems like I'm off the track again. And I don't think they understand. It was a case of let's just shove you on that course, shove you on that course.
Yeah. And it isn't just about doing courses, is it? It's about connecting. And it would, you know, I think that, you know, I go to Digital Jersey a lot, and I'm often the only woman there, but I still think it's a relatively, you know, good place to go and quite open. But I'd like to know if people aren't going there and they'll put off, why that is and what we can do to make sure that you're not put off from it.
So I've just had a quick look on our website, so I've got the actual real information right now. I can't make it up today. So it's the 22nd of November from 4 till 8 p.m. It's on our website, and it's you'll have people giving you information about a career in the digital industry, training options, different sort of prospects from different employers. And they also say bring your CV along, because they've got private rooms available for on-the-spot chats about options and things that you can do.
So, sorry. Yeah.
Just promoting our event.
We've got booklets and leaflets about our Digital Jersey stand.
So one of the things that I was going to say also is hanging out in digital. The coffee, the tea used to be great, but you actually do get to meet people there, have side conversation, and everyone is very open, and it's a great space to work. And I can tell you, many a time Gwen has gotten me coming back to her, can I have that email, please? But it doesn't require to go there to do anything but just hang out and do your own work, and you will find people will approach you. And that's a very good way of getting to be social.
Well, I wanted to do that, but then they changed. I became a member, but then they changed it so that you have to be in the industry, and I didn't know what was available, but I'll find out.
Basically, what happened was we had a lot of people who were members who were nothing to do with digital tech. So what we changed the criteria so that we wanted to focus obviously on the tech and digital industry, which is what we're all about. But if you're trying to get into the industry, we will help you try and get into the industry.
Okay.
So just come and talk, because we will point in all directions. We run courses, we're doing the Women in Tech thing. There's all sorts of stuff going on, all sorts of initiatives. So if you're interested, just come and see us.
And we'd be really pleased if you could come along as well, or be involved with the Women in Tech movement as it starts up, because your experiences will be invaluable to leading where we want to go with it. So please to get involved.
I'm sorry. We also have two girls who are working on something which I think is amazing.
Lucy and Misha.
Lucy and Misha. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Lucy and Misha are building a drone. And I think it's amazing. And, you know, it's the initiative of doing that kind of stuff. And for me, I would love to sit down with you guys and see how we can get the commercialization piece in there. The good part, yes, but let's try and see about how, and I think encouraging more girls to build things like this.
Perhaps they can tell us a bit
Yes,
about
why
it.
don't you tell us?
So cool.
Yeah, it's real cool.
So what we're doing is we're building an open source underwater drone. So if you've seen the open ROV stand, it's the big pool near where you come in the entrance with just the side building it. And so we entered a competition last year.
Yeah, and we had to write a business plan for what we do with this drone if we won it. And we won the competition, so we got all the kit to make it. And it's all in different parts, so we have to put it all together ourselves and we wire it and everything. And because it's all open source, we can change the coding and the programming of it and add different things in. So then we can just change how the whole drone works compared to someone who's just left it as it is.
Yep. And so the current plan is we're going, there's Leveille, and now none of them really can explore the ocean. Our original plan was to build a drone and then use it alongside them so they could explore underwater, by themselves if they were on the beach.
Yeah, so we were thinking somewhere like Green Island would be nice because of all the rock pools and stuff. They obviously can't go rock pooling themselves because it's too dangerous for them. So they could sit on the side, like on the beach or up like on the steps, and they can drive this drone around and see themselves, so they can see what they want to see and not kind of have to just watch a video of what someone else has filmed for them.
And then also there's a JCG biology expedition in July to the Galapagos.
Yeah.
So you'll be bringing the drone with you.
Yeah, because I'm going on this expedition, so we're doing a lot of diving and snorkeling when we're in the Galapagos Islands. So we're going to have the chance to take this drone with us, so we can have a look at what kind of the marine life is like there, and then we can be back to Jersey, and we can live stream it or video what we get in the Galapagos Islands and bring it back to Jersey, so we can have a look at it over here.
So I'm thinking they'd be good for GODA, which is the UN-sponsored program around global initiative for global open data for agriculture and nutrition. And there's a lot of things going on about understanding marine life and the definition of the marine life. And I think that this is something I definitely want to introduce you guys to, because yes, you're not looking at it that way, but you're capturing data. And also, I actually got to meet there these people who are building an open source tractor.
What is an open source tractor?
It's basically allows you, as they've explained, to basically, it has software, but it also allows you to bring parts in and out without having to have it specially made. And in terms of, by having an open source tractor, you can bring it into parts of the world where you now have less cost in the carbon footprint for getting it over there. So I think that we have another 15 minutes, and I'd like to open to you guys if there is anything else. I mean, we've been looking a lot at, I hope some of you have been looking at these, and I think it's amazing that Eddie Lamar, I mean, she was one of the most beautiful actresses in the world.
That's not her.
That's not No, Grace didn't do too bad either. But do you want to talk a bit about some of the women?
I think there's a lot of things out there if you feel like you're not, it's very easy to live on the island and feel not connected. But the internet is out there. Ada Lovelace Global is a mailing list that you can join, and I constantly get thousands of job offers and job opportunities and events going on, activities, and you will feel you're very connected. And conferences such as Grace Hopper conferences in America every year, it's really good, and it gets all the a lot of top companies is going there and finding young talents and all those sort of things. You will feel very connected if you dig into those things. And I think one of the things is that relate to this and realize a lot of women is currently working in this. They're very real, and whatever journey they've been through is very doable. Personally, I think being able to relate to that helped me to make a decision. And I like what Gun said. It's like I like what Genevieve said at the beginning. Yourself is the single most valuable asset, and at the end of the day, each individual has to make choices and understand what is your strengths. I don't know, there's a strengths finder out there. So based on the theory that instead of fixing whatever you're not good at, enhance whatever you're naturally born with. You come with a package. And my my strength finder package is achiever, focus, deliberative, and all those things. That means I make serious choices. I invest myself into every choices I make. I'm naturally focused on things and not easy to get distracted, so that whatever I'm resolving. And I'm achievers, meaning I'm pathetically being workaholic. So I have to work. I gain satisfaction from it. Otherwise, I feel lost, confused, not happy. So my source of happiness is from that. So everybody can find your own strengths there and use it. Your most valuable resource is yourself and your time. Regardless whatever your age, your experience, your most valuable resource is your time. And use them wisely. And that's all I got.
But it's interesting what you're saying, because I think one of the key skills required, the soft skills required to do well in IT is to be good at problem solving. And there's all sorts of problems, whether it's debugging a piece of code or working out how you're going to get your project over the finish line, or whatever it's going to be. And without wanting to generalise too much, women do tend to be good at problem solving. So if that's something that you feel that you're good at, it's not all about thinking, well, again, you do need to be quite good at thinking logically, but when I was teaching one of my courses, I did get some feedback on Twitter from a man who said, good luck with teaching women logic. Which was, which inspired us to do it even better, obviously.
Actually, data scientist is recently valued as the #1 job that's best work-life balanced.
Yeah.
So data scientist is with the cloud computing, everything out there, and that's a #1 female engineer's choices, right?
I mean, it was unfortunate that this lady had to live with her son, and I don't know, I really wanted to tell her to stay. He was making the noise. But I think that's the one thing, being in technology, even coding or not coding, you're not tied to a desk. You get to work, and mostly now technology, the way it's built, it's not right next to you. The person who's actually delivering for you could be 8 to 10 hours away, which means that actually gives you the opportunity to have your family and have your pie also and eat it well.
And technology allows you to do that in any job.
Yes.
Suddenly you've got the ability that you don't have to be sat at a desk 9 to 5, and you can work from anywhere, and you can work with people from anywhere. You don't just have to look at role models from Jersey. I mean, it's opening up those doors.
I think that I broke the mold at RBS. I used to be at RBS. My boss didn't know where the hell I was half the day. He'd say, I'd like to see you in a few days. I'd be like, I'll check and see what my schedule allows. I was one of the first people at RBS who didn't have a desk. For 3 years, I had an iPad, and that's all I walked around with. Because I didn't care. I could just plop myself where I needed to be. And half the time, I was on phone calls anyway, trying to resolve things. So it's conference calls up the wazoo. But I think that as women, that actually you can get paid very well to do your job from anywhere in the world. The last time I did that, I ran a 600-pound bill for a cell phone for 3 days. But hey, things were happening. I had to be on there.
I think I'd like to put out a plea. I think there are a number of areas where, for me, government has a role to play, and it's about removing the blockers. It's about looking at not just very specifically about education of schools or education more broadly. It's looking at, is our population policy the right one that's going to encourage women to get involved in these things? Are we encouraging the right number of women on boards? We're involved with a scheme of board apprentice at the moment, which is trying to get women on boards, but also people with technical skills on boards as well. It's looking at access to finance, which is another one of the things we're doing now. You mentioned it was harder in some places for women to get investment. We need to make sure that's not the case here. So I think government definitely has a role, but we cannot do it alone. We need to hear from you. And I would say that when I go out and talk about my really exciting digital policies or cybersecurity policies, I'm often talking to the same people, and it's the same, and it's generally men, and it's generally the same men. So I'd love to see more diversity and people being interested and getting involved and telling us what they need. And that's diversity across the board, but in this forum, particularly women.
So, asking the question again, is there anything from the audience that you would like, to see driven? Is there any action? Because we really wanted to come out with actions from this, and to not just be telling you, but supporting what needs to happen going forward. I know that we're bringing in, is it the 10th, the date, your conference?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, there's going to be a meeting to start the Women in Technology. And really about, I heard a number of things that from the questions that came out here, the role model, the access to jobs, or career choices. And what we probably would want to do is to create a way to come back to you in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, and really be able to engage and say, what have we done? And what also getting back from you, have you seen any changes? Because we can do something, but if you don't feel there's any change, then that doing something is not successful.
At least get yourself out there and get connected. Learn from people. If you can't learn anything valuable from them, at least learn the anti-patterns. You always find something out there.
And I think be ambitious. I mean, you asked about, mentors or role models earlier, and I was thinking about that because I never thought I had a particular role model in my career. But something one woman said to me once really stuck in my mind. She used to run BBC One, so it's a relatively powerful position, and she said that in her experience of recruiting and appointing people, men always applied for a job 2 years before they were ready for it, and women 2 years later. And that has always stuck with me when I've kind of thought, I can't do that.
Yeah, I've heard similar stories as well, where it's very much it's very much generalising again. So sorry about that, but it's a case where you're looking at a job description, and the man will be like, yeah, I can do about 60-70% of it. Whereas generally women are sort of, I don't know, I can't do that bit, I better not apply for that role. Whereas it should be much more about being more confident, and I think confidence is a huge barrier to actually getting on with any job. But again, with IT, with it being so male dominated, I think the fear of either looking stupid or not being able to do as much as the men can do, or worry that they're going to laugh at you for some reason, I think it does tend to put women off in a big way. So maybe that's something else which we need to look at.
So you know what, that reminds me, when I got my job at Chase, it was basically going around the country and ended up in the world to sit with treasurers and their team to install an application that the bank gave them. And when I got there, I didn't know anything about banking. I knew something. I had been working for MTV Network, so, really in terms of technology. And they said, well, do you think you can do this job? I said, I don't know anything about finance, but I know if you teach me, I can learn it. So it's about going in and saying, you give me the skill sets, I'll learn it. When I got to GE, I knew nothing about black belt. People were spewing stuff. I went to my boss, I said, I'm really tired of this. I found a black belt course. I'm going away for 2 weeks, and when I come back, I'll have a black belt. And then that will stop, because most people were green belt. They weren't black belt. So you just aim higher, and then you tell them which way it is.
And if you're not sure, you can always go and Google it anyway. So.
Well, so the acronyms were just too much. It was, they drop an acronym, don't have time to go. It wasn't Google, wasn't good then, but you didn't have time to go back, and you'd be like stuck. Okay, what are they getting at? And I think also as women, we like a lot of time for people to like us. Don't be scared of them not liking you, because if you get the job done, it don't matter if you are the nicest person in the world, because the nicest person sometimes doesn't get to do the job, right? So know that you're nice, but be firm. And I think that's really important for us to be clear about. So any other questions? Because we have 5 minutes, or we can...
There's nothing after this, so you can carry on discussing, or you can just have a chat through that.
Yeah.
What is the top 3 comments that you get throughout your life?
Me?
Yes.
Determined. Somewhat like you, focus, though sometimes I feel defocused because I'm all over the place. And I see things around the corner which people don't see. And I think that's been the reason why I've done well in technology. I'm not a technologist, but I'm able to help business translate what technology can do for it, and I can then help technology translate back to the business what it can't do, because sometimes we think it can do more than it can. And so it's creating that balance towards success and understanding what a must-have and what are nice to have.
What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely problem solving thing. I've always I like doing puzzles when I was a kid, and it sort of moved on from there, basically. How can I've been presented with a problem, how can I use technology to solve it? How can I make this process run quicker? How can I make, do away with all these spreadsheets or bits of paper, and let's just get something which works and is robust and is consistent and produces the same numbers each time, which is what I pretty much do in my job day to day at the moment. So yeah, the problem solving bit, attention to detail is really important as well. I think just sort of saying, yeah, it's nearly there for work, that's not really good enough. I think you've got to be somebody who's really quite focused on the little details to make sure that everything will fit together and will work, because 90% generally isn't good enough. You need to make sure it's going to work, and it's going to work every time. There's two. Do I need to come up with a third one? Be optimistic. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be okay.
I don't know, probably very similar, even though I'm not a techie, but you know, being driven to solve problems, you know, in a different way, but that's what we're trying to do in government, is solve problems. Probably working in teams, I like that. I like to be able to bring people together and do, you know, solve problems together and bring people from across different areas, which is important in what I do. One of the things that's great about Jersey is you can get, say, the people that you need to talk to in a room, and that's one of the things I like here. Probably bossy, but I don't think anyone calls men bossy, so I don't like that one.
So any comments from the audience? Anything else? Any closing comments?
What do the male audience think of female co-workers?
Well, I think that's a perfectly alright point. Something for me I find quite interesting is that when people talk about women's issues, there might be a cohort of people who kind of say, well, this is just for women to sort out, when actually it's not. It's their business issues and their economic growth issues. You know, not having enough women represented at the higher levels of the workforce is a problem for the whole economy. So it's not about 4 women to go into a room and sort out and it'll all be okay for them. It's for everybody. So I think from my perspective as a man, I'd like to try and dispel that myth in one way or another.
And the Women in Tech meeting next Tuesday is men and women are involved, and it's not just women.
Yeah, because it's about being inclusive.
So debate about that on fact about whether or not men should come. Yes, because teams that have balanced genders are far better than teams that are single gender, whether it's all males or all females. So yes.
They are, and companies that have more women on board make more money.
Yeah,
You know, it's not just a nice thing.
That's me back to the point, you know, where are all the men in here? Well, the problem doesn't affect them women in tech. Well, women, you all go and you just find out what you need to do to be where we are. And in fact, it's the men that should be in here and being, as you said, like role models or being supportive or pushing us because we need to be pushed in that direction. As you said, aim higher.
Yeah.
I think there is a definite need to raise awareness among certain companies that perhaps they need to do more to encourage women onto the boards or to get involved and so on. But I have found that equally there's a large number of my colleagues who have said, what can we do as men to help with this? And I think that's something which we'd like to look at very much as part of the forum, so we definitely want more men along if we can. Yes.
Have you just been to the e-gov tour?
Mm-hmm.
So just all men sat. But clearly, I mean, there were both discussion panels, is that right?
Yeah.
But this has been a discussion. What we just had there was men talking at us. Yes, none of them had discussed what they were going to talk about, and so it was like 4 completely different topics.
You should have seen, we had calls, we had emails.
You can see the difference.
I've set up talks here, and I've said to everybody very clearly these are discussion panels.
Yeah.
But the men, some of the men said, no, we're doing talks, we're really putting your viewpoints across, and that was not the thing. This is exactly what it should be, is a discussion and involving everybody.
So well done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, so one of the things I'm making sure in London is that all the talks I go to or panels, so I'm actually, I'm going to help again for the future of finance next year. That was one of the best conferences I've been in years, because it's one which is it's about what's going to happen in the future and robotics, all those things. And it was people putting challenges up for one another. So I've told the organizer that I'm going to see the head of ISIS to get him to write a check. And it's important, the one thing I've said to him as a result, every panel must have at least one woman.
They must, and there's a great Twitter hashtag which shames panels that are, that are all male. So I'm not advocating that you do that. I'll get myself into trouble. But it's for many times this isn't deliberate. It's just haven't thought about it. The first 4 people who sprung to mind were men, and why not? And it's.
The problem is, in Jersey, there's very few women who are experts in these fields, just and we're taken from a Jersey rule. So it goes back to that whole crux of the problem, there's not enough women doing it.
But they are there, and I think we talked about it. One of the things we could do potentially is put together, a directory of the women who are there, who can talk about these things, so it makes it easy to find them.
Yes.
How you define tech.
Yeah.
Geraldine said, sometimes it's far too narrow.
Yeah.
You're just talking about code. That's not tech. It's not digital. It's huge.
So remember, we don't do, we don't code.
Well, even if we do it, it's not just.
Yeah.
It's
No.
not just that.
Absolutely.
Thinking and getting out there the definition of digital and tech and that whole area, because there is this whole load of fringe businesses and experiences there. Some people don't think of tech.
Absolutely.
Well, after the last 25 years, some people don't think tech.
Yeah.
I think it's tech. And we've been forefront of all sorts of technology over the last 25 years. We set up 25 years ago a virtual company. At the time then, everyone thought you were nuts. And you've got people all around the globe working all sorts of weird and wonderful hours on all sorts of weird and wonderful technology that nobody had used before. But it's much, much broader than just coding.
Well, all of us who went on that course, the CompTIA, and set up Eagle House, we all thought, well, all the boys just wanted to do coding, and they thought it was that. But you learned so much about building a PC from the bottom up, learning how to network officers, learning all the language, and it just showed, it made me realise, no, it's not just coding.
Yeah.
Great. So, should we basically put some of those actions on the website and talk about maybe how we can track that?
Yeah, I think we need to discuss the agenda
Yeah.
and decide on what it is that we need to do with women in tech group. So as many of you as possible come on, that would be fantastic.
And the thing is that none of us, well, I didn't know about the women tech thing having next week, so how do we need to improve our communication about it?
We're Digital Jersey, has been tweeting about it, we've got it on the website, we've invited people, and we'll do a big push on Monday,
So,
asking people to share the invitation to as many people as they can.
one of the things I do is I look at the meetup, because the Digital Jersey stuff on the meetup. I also get the register for the newsletter, because you may find every once in a while there's a piece in there that's interesting to you. And I think also just as I say, going and having the coffee.
There's also the Slack channel.
That thing is noisy.
I'm going to promote my Twitter one then, CI Women in Tech, at CI Women in Tech.
Yeah, we should have that up there.
It is on one of the slides, but it's at the bottom, so you might not see it.
So, I mean,
that one, I do tend to retweet a lot of other initiatives such as the Women's Development Forum, Women Who Code, lots of other things that come through there. But it is very much based on Jersey and Guernsey, and trying to establish links with them as well, and what we can do. So we'll try and push information through that as well. But yeah, Digital Jersey, CI Women in Tech, and just spread the word.
can we do a Facebook?
We'll probably set up a page on Digital Hub website, so it's digitalhub.je, not the Digital Jersey website. I've just been to the Women in Tech conference in London, and I've got access to all the videos of those talks, which I think some people might find interesting, so we'll try and put those on the hub as well, and get them access to those. So what we need is we need a direction, we need some objectives, and we need to decide how we're going to tackle this from the schools through to women who are already working and want to get into tech. So that hopefully is what next Tuesday's meeting is going to do, to give us all direction on what we're aiming to do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.